We cannot imagine the Master of Magnetism without his signature suit, and more importantly, his helmet. Many believe that this was the sole source of his power. While this isn't the case, Magneto's helmet serves a specific purpose, and is also a fierce symbol. His iconic helmet is considered to be an enduring symbol of mutant kind and its collective strength. In this marvelous video, we're going to dive into the workings of Magneto's helmet. Let's explore how this piece of armor has shaped the journey of the villain, anti-hero, and part-time hero over the years. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like the video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. How does Magneto's helmet work? Before we talk about how Magneto protects himself from the likes of Charles Xavier's potent telepathy, let's break down the basic functioning of his special helmet. Magneto has donned his signature helmet since his very first appearance in Uncanny X-Men #1 in 1963. Magneto's natural control over metal was put to creative use when he could manipulate the molecular structure of the metal. Magneto used this ability to fashion himself a cool-looking helmet, which served a purpose but also added to his air of intimidation. His special headgear was built specifically to protect him from all types of telepathic assaults and attempted psychic intrusions. The metal helmet consists of an intricate pattern of circuitry that keeps it empowered against telepathy. To his credit, his inborn electromagnetic powers, combined with his training, made him resistant to telepathy. It was observed that he dealt with more psychic damage without his helmet. This proved that the headgear only reinforced his resistance to telepathy. The first relaunch of the X-Men saw Chris Claremont establish Magneto's tragic history as a Holocaust survivor. He also focused on the fact that Magneto resisted mind control and telepathy through sheer force of will, and the helmet only supplemented his resistance instead of sourcing it. Going even a step further, some versions of Magneto possessed telepathic abilities. In the 1987 comic X-Men vs. Avengers #4, Xavier wasn't on Earth, while Magneto planned to use his helmet for an unlikely purpose. The Master of Magnetism used his helmet to telepathically get rid of all the anti-mutant hatred and prejudice in the fickle minds of humans. Following this, he read Captain America's mind, which revealed to him the flaws of his plans. While Magneto's helmet is mainly considered to be a piece of the defense, it can also be used to contain telepathic energies. We see this in the new X-Men #136, in which Quentin Quire, aka Kid Omega, triggered a riot in Xavier Mansion and captured Professor X. Kid Omega then used a revamped version of Magneto's helmet to neutralize and contain Xavier's telepathic powers. Similarly, in the 2022 comic X-Men Red #3, Magneto used his helmet on the Iraqi mutant named Tarn the Uncaring. Tarn was capable of manipulating biological matter on a molecular level using only his mind. In order to kill him effectively, Magneto stuck his helmet on the Iraqi mutant, which hindered his abilities, and took him out. If we take a look at the movies, specifically X-Men First Class, the origins are explained to a certain degree. The helmet was created by the Soviet Union in the 60s for the leader of the Hellfire Club, Sebastian Shaw. When Magneto confronted him, not only did he avenge his mother's death, but he also took the helmet as a trophy after killing him. This notable detail adds another layer to Magneto's helmet. We know why it's such a significant tool. The grief of losing his mother was something he carried for the rest of his life, along with the collective pain of what occurred in his youth. The helmet represented his idealistic plan of mutants superseding humans as a superior species.
What do you wonder for? Can't you read my mind?
How does Magneto's helmet block out Charles Xavier's telepathic powers? The most popular explanation is that the helmet's advanced circuitry, paired with its ability to rearrange the metal's molecular structure, effectively scrambles telepathic waves and blocks them out. Magneto already possessed the knowledge of how telepathy can be enhanced and constricted when linked to an external device. After all, Cerebro was built through the joint efforts of Magneto and Charles Xavier. Depending on the story arc, Cerebro is considered to be a psychotronic that senses and tracks the locations of mutants all over the world. It's also a powerful tool for telepaths, since it amplifies their brainwaves, thus enhancing their natural psychic abilities. Using this knowledge of Cerebro's functioning, many believe that his helmet contains similar circuitry that is specifically built to block out telepathy and psychic intrusion. In the continuity of the movies, Magneto takes the helmet as a trophy after he kills Sebastian Shaw. The helmet was built to protect Shaw from psychic attacks from the most powerful telepaths, such as Charles Xavier and Emma Frost. In the film X-Men Apocalypse, Magneto receives a new helmet upon becoming his newest horseman. The helmet was constructed out of Egyptian sand. Canonically, it was never confirmed that Magneto's helmet is made out of it, but most likely it's made from the durable metals of either adamantium or vibranium. It could also be made of lead, since we know that telepaths like Emma Frost cannot see through lead, which Magneto could have thought would be helpful. In the comics, Magneto's helmet is best known to be a plot device. The helmet gives the writers at Marvel Comics unrestricted liberty to perpetrate the plot in the most creative ways. As we know, Charles Xavier is one of the strongest telepaths in the world, which makes him one of the few most powerful mutants alive. He possesses the ability to track, enter, and seize control of the minds of his enemies if he wishes to do so. Due to this, it's pretty convenient for Xavier to put an end to all threats to world peace made by Magneto, which would also make all the conflicts with Magneto underwhelming since Xavier can telepathically force him to end all his villainous schemes. Charles could easily change Magneto's mind to stop his attempt at world annihilation and refocus his attention elsewhere. If this were the case, we wouldn't have any epic battles and dramatic sequences of Xavier versus Magneto. It's essential that Magneto's helmet is highly resilient to Charles' telepathic attempts. Would Magneto's telepathic defense helmet offer any protection against the overwhelming power of the Phoenix Force or the Mind Stone? We've already established that this helmet can successfully block out Charles' telepathy, but one question remains. Is the helmet strong enough to protect him against the raw power of entities such as the Phoenix, or even cosmic forces like the Mind Stone? To begin with, Magneto's powers are not to be reckoned with. These are only amplified by this helmet, which allows him to resist telepathy, use telepathy himself, and project himself into the astral plane. Among other things, Magneto has also shown the capability of blocking telepathy without his helmet. As far as we know, the Mind Stone governs the fabric of people's minds. It possesses the ability to access, control, read, communicate, and influence the minds of others. But does it really turn its wielder into an invincible telepath? It's said that the Mind Stone enhances the wearer's telepathic abilities, which reach Xavier's level. So if Magneto's helmet can resist Xavier's telepathy, the Mind Stone should be no different. Also, remember that the Mind Stone isn't foolproof, as we've seen in instances where the Mind Stone is wielded by Moondragon. The original Guardian of the Mind Gem still managed to lose various psychic battles and was easily brainwashed during the Infinity Crusade. Apart from this, a whole different possibility was explored in MCU's What If? The episode portrayed Charles Xavier in possession of the Mind Stone. Xavier's telepathic powers were enhanced to a cataclysmic level. He basically became Cerebro without being in need of the device, so Charles Xavier's psychic powers combined with the Mind Stone would completely overpower the helmet's resistance. Moving on to the helmet's resistance against the various iterations of the Phoenix Force, the varying levels of power against the hosts would yield different results. For instance, when Jean Grey was in her green Phoenix state, after she fixed the M'Krang crystal, she confronted Magneto. The Master of Magnetism was surprised to see her strength, as he was met with a full-blown psychic attack on his senses. He describes the blow to be as powerful as a psychic assault from Charles Xavier, but his helmet endured this attack until he could hit back and defeat Jean. Similarly, the Dark Phoenix was portrayed as an all-powerful but misguided being, yet the members of the X-Men found ways to subdue her powers. We're talking about the Beast's multiple devices, one of which was the special tiara that blocked the Phoenix powers. The prison she was put in during the Phoenix Endsong saga also held up against her for a few moments before she burned it down. Even though Magneto and the Dark Phoenix have never faced each other directly, many believe that his helmet would provide him with a few fleeting moments of protection, which are just as crucial. But that's considering the fact that she would not destroy it instantly with her telekinesis power. Perhaps the most powerful host of the Phoenix Force, the White Phoenix of the Crown. Present in the White Hot Room that exists within the M'Krang crystal, the White Phoenix is an omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniversal cosmic being. We think that Magneto's helmet stands no chance against the reality-altering White Phoenix of the Crown.
We're moving to a backup plan.
Besides Magneto, has anyone else donned his iconic helmet in the X-Men universe? Magneto hasn't been the sole wearer of his helmet. Throughout Marvel's history, we've seen several different characters wear this helmet to protect themselves. In Astonishing X-Men number 46, Cyclops found himself fighting the evil alternate version of Charles Xavier. This counterpart of Charles used his telepathic abilities in their full offense, which forced Scott to scramble for any defense. He landed on Magneto's helmet and quickly put it on to protect himself from evil Xavier's psychic assaults. In Uncanny Avengers number 21, Rogue is the mutant who had donned Magneto's helmet. The story followed was of Red Skull stealing Charles Xavier's psychic powers and using them against the X-Men. Rogue wore Magneto's helmet to prevent the villain from seizing control of her mind. In Wolverine number 3, Logan found himself against a powerful telepath known as the Pale Girl. She possessed the ability to manipulate fellow mutants by attacking them mentally. Wolverine's brute strength wasn't enough to deal with her, so he sought after Magneto's helmet instead. How? Well, Logan's best plan of action was to get the Master of Magnetism dead drunk, and when he passed out, Wolverine stole away his precious helmet. It didn't look nearly as cool as it does on Magneto, if not feeling out of place on Logan's rugged face. we still appreciate his quick thinking on how to take down the telepathic villain he faced. In Uncanny X-Men number 425, Lorna Dane, the infamous daughter of Magneto, wore his helmet during her disastrous wedding to Havoc. Lorna, aka Polaris, usually ferociously rebelled against her father's villainous ways. However, there have been several instances where she stepped into her father's legacy. We see this in Deadpool and the Mercs for Money number 8, where Polaris fashioned her tiara into a helmet, which stood in stark resemblance to her father's helmet. In X-Men Red number 10, Jean Grey urged Tony Stark to mass-produce Magneto's helmets to counter the deadly attacks of Cassandra Nova, who was the evil twin of Charles Xavier. Cassandra Nova was a powerful telepath who instilled raw hatred for mutants in minds all over the globe. The intense anti-mutant sentiment led to violence against the superhumans and threatened to wipe them out entirely. Led by Jean Grey, the X-Men, Avengers, and Atlanteans all donned copies of his helmet before they went to war against Nova. Remember how we said that the helmet slowly turned into a symbol of the might of the mutants? In the new X-Men number 115, Magneto's mutant utopia of Genosha was annihilated by Sentinels, along with a vast number of mutants as well. Magneto was also said to have been killed in this attack. After his death, his helmet came to be known as a symbol of mutant resilience. The debate of was Magneto right sparked among the masses, and t-shirts with his face and helmet were commonly worn. This enduring symbol lived on into the future, even after 1,000 years. In Sins of Sinister Dominion number 1, Mr. Sinister successfully stripped the universe and established his own empire. Meanwhile, Xavier fed off the psychic powers of his followers before he was confronted by Ironfire. John Ironfire was Storm's long-standing disciple and the leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants. Ironfire transformed his blood into metal and seemingly constructed a replica of Magneto's helmet. This looked very similar to the design of the Elder Scrolls Dragonborn horned helmet, as he charged into battle against Xavier. His war was Magneto was right. Looking at this iteration of his deceased friend's helmet, Xavier was forced to stop and reconsider his actions. Even 10 centuries after his death, Magneto's helmet lived on as a representation of his legacy. A look at Magneto's helmet variations across the multiverse. Earth 616 isn't the only universe to witness the marvels of Magneto's helmet. Like in Earth 1610, aka the Ultimate Universe, Magneto's helmet possessed similar properties. Following the Ultimatum event, this alternate reality was plagued with anti-mutant sentiments, which were followed by cruel violence. To battle this, Quicksilver went on a mission to steal the blueprints for the helmet and mass-produce the headpieces. But this backfired when a deranged father wore this version of the helmet and murdered his telepathic daughter in her sleep. The writer Neil Gaiman adapted Magneto and Xavier into slightly different characters in their Earth 311 reality. The story introduces a priest named Enrique, who was Magneto's Earth 311 counterpart, and Carlos Xavier, or Charles Xavier as we know him. Carlos gifted Enrique with his special helmet, but the priest rose to power as the Grand Inquisitor and abused the powers of the helmet. Even in this reality, Carlos was unable to read or control Enrique's mind. Magneto's character in the animated TV show X-Men 97 is also never seen without his helmet. The funniest iteration of his helmet exists in Spider-Ham's reality, which is Earth 94823. Instead of sporting his usual crimson and magenta helmet, which looks regal for the most part, Earth 94823's Magneto was seen wearing a football helmet. Fun fact, did you know that the DC Universe admired the design of Magneto's helmet? To the extent of creating their character, Dr. Diehard possessed similar powers of magnetic manipulation, and donned a helmet just like Magneto's. The parallel drawn was uncanny, as the helmet resembled Magneto's headpiece, even down to its color and gladiatorial shape. Marvelous verdict. Throughout the movies, animations, and most importantly the comics, Magneto has made plenty of appearances without his helmet, but when he does have it on, his entire presence changes. His potential powers are brought to everyone's attention. Only a fool would forget what the Master of Magnetism is truly capable of. Apart from its practical purposes, the helmet is a symbolic force that kept the mutant kind alive for so long. It's gone even beyond Magneto while remaining reminiscent of him. However, those familiar with him don't take this as seriously. Snarky heroes like Wolverine even went as far as calling him a buckethead. But did he lie though? And if you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!